You're muted, Josh, I think.
I am Josh Wallace. I am the host and GM of this session, and we are playing Invisible Sun by Monty Cook Games. I'll have my cast introduce themselves here. Let's go ahead and start with Kelton. Go ahead.
Hello, everybody. I'm Kelton. You can find me in most places as Fesnerax or Fesnerax the Fantastic. Super happy to be here, and thank you for watching.
Awesome. And Chris, go ahead.
I am Chris, or Synth. I'll be playing Sterling Price. Vance, who just came back out of Shadow again.
Yes, he was not there for our last session, and he has rejoined us. So, Joanne, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Joanne Wallace, the Angel of Angel Citadel. You can find me running around as Joanne Wallace or Cortana. I am playing Claire Thespian tonight with lovely Josh. And the rest of the group.
And last but certainly not least, Jeff.
Hi, my name's Jeff. I will be playing Albion Finch, a maker in Saturnine. And you can find me online as Jeffrey Boring or RJ Vaden 3.
Wonderful. So let's jump right in. Chris, you awake once again in your bed. You have returned from a jaunt into Shadow, where you have vague memories of being there. You remember a city. You remember it was dark, almost like film noir dark, right? Where color was muted. And you remember walking the city streets in a very light, misty rain. And oddly enough, you remember as you were walking, someone looking at you. And for a second, it was really weird. They looked like they had purple eyes. And then when you looked again, it was gone. And then you woke up and you were back in your bedroom, I guess, in Phineas's place. And you wake up and get out of bed. And what do you do?
Well, first off, I'm probably gonna look up and kind of put my hands in front of me. Like, am I dressed like how I should be, or am I wearing like some type of like blue suit or something?
You
Or
are
am
dressed
I
how
normal robe?
you are dressed in your normal robes.
Okay, so that's a relief. I kind of just go, okay, and then I'll just take the glasses by my bed, splash whatever it is, just throw it onto my face, wipe my face off, then I guess kind of knock on the door as I go out. Are you home, Phineas?
Oi, Sterling! How you doing, buddy?
I don't know.
What's the matter?
Just got back from Shadow.
Oh, one of those nights. Feels like a hangover, doesn't it?
It does. Like, I went into a room with spiders. I just finished talking to a bunch of them. And the rest is gone. I saw some guy with purple eyes in Shadow.
Weird. Hey, so I'm headed out. There's a thing for you on the table, I guess. You have a good day, all right?
Yeah, you too. I'll see you around.
And you hear kind of off the door thud, like he went out and closed it.
I'll leave the room and see what was for me.
Awesome. Jeff, so you awake after your jaunt last session, and Reynard is back, and he seems happier. He thanks you once again for getting your friends to help, and mentions that there'd been something left on the doorstep outside. He heard somebody stop by.
I suppose I ought to get up and go see what it is. I get up, I put on my flannel robe and walk to the front door and open it up. I look down to see what it is. Is it a package or is it a letter?
Neither. Well, not exactly the latter. It appears to be a glass bottle. Claire, the choir is strangely silent. They're supposed to be practicing today, and they're not. When you wake up, the theater is very muted.
I swear, if that boy is running around in my theater scaring the ghosts again, I'm gonna thump him one. She'll get out of bed and get dressed and go downstairs to see what's going on.
You see the ghosts. They are all on the stage, and they're in something of a circle, staring down at the stage floor.
Aren't y'all supposed to be practicing?
They don't even look at you.
I will approach.
Kelton, you hear a knock on the wall between Billy's bomb casing and where your friend next door lives. That little window-like thing that you share? Yeah, with Jude.
Mm-hmm. I go to the door. Hello.
Hey, I was up late practicing last night because, job. And someone left this for you, but they left it at my house. I don't know. And, one hand's got a drink in it, and out the fingers, he's got a cigarette, and he looks like he's been drinking and smoking and pacing back and forth, doing a routine or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
And his other hand, he holds out to you a glass bottle. On the stage floor is a glass bottle. On your kitchen table, Sterling, is a glass bottle. These 4 bottles are identical. They are about 8 inches long and about 4 inches in diameter. And each one of them is corked with what looks like a wine cork, although not boiler pressed, but hand pressed. Like you could pluck it out on your own.
I'll take a look at the label. If there is one.
There is no label, but you do see inside a rolled up piece of paper.
No drink.
I'm sorry?
Is there a drink too, or is it just the paper?
Just the paper.
That's awfully disappointing. I'll open up the bottle. I'll try to twist it open.
Okay. As you do, the the dining room, is filled with the smell of ocean, that really heavy, salty sea smell. And you could swear you're hearing waves.
I'll kind of plug my nose and try to get the message out.
Okay. What are the other three of you doing?
More or less the same. I'm gonna open up the bottle, try to get the note out.
I think Albion's probably pretty comfortable with the smell of the ocean, but shakes the bottle to try to get a pinky in and work the letter, the message out.
Okay. You make your way through the crowd, Claire, and there's a bottle there too.
Claire will pick up the bottle. All this hullabaloo over a bottle. She will open it.
So when Claire opens the bottle, this is kind of an interesting one as well. All four of you, when you open it, the same thing happens, right? The smell of the ocean. You can hear the waves. You can almost taste the salt on your tongue, right? But Claire, when you open the bottle, all of the ghosts can as well. And they all take a deep breath and go, oh.
Claire will remove the message and then set the bottle down and back up, letting the ghosts kind of cluster around the bottle.
Okay.
And then sneeze.
You start hearing them murmur, "It's been so long since I've smelt the sea." As each of you take out the note, what you find is that the parchment appears to be written on by hand in a very nice script, legible, but also looks very old. Like you've seen, the in books that you've read, right? Some of them are mass produced, and some of them are journals that are written by hand. And the older you go, the difference in the script becomes apparent, like the way writing used to be in Saturnine has changed over time. And this looks as old as anything that you've ever seen. And the script reads, "It was a lovely party, and Kudash is on his own path, but that's still not where you belong. To find your way to your soul's home, you must look in directions that have been forgotten. Seek the compass. It will teach you the way. M."
Have I
I
heard
think
of
Billy is
them?
Billy is a bit like, great, more of this Vislae bullshit. Who is M?
What do you do?
Can I try to rack my brain to see if I've ever heard of an M that talks about a compass or the soul.
You can.
Right? Would? I don't think I have anything that helps. I do not.
I seriously doubt it.
Remembering weird old people could be a skill I would have taken. It isn't. So, let me see. I didn't know. Gee. I'll throw in a, I'll spend a to select for this.
I'm sorry. You'll
Or I'll put in, I'll use a Bene.
okay.
Getting my up. That's a 4. So 5 with
You got
Bene.
nothing.
I'll kind of keep. Oh,
Albion is going to read it again, and read it a third time. And then he's going to roll it back up and put it back into the bottle. And then write his own note that says, "Please be more specific," and place it into the bottle and set it back out on his front stoop. He's then going to get himself ready for the day. Today he's not wearing the full suit. He's just going to put on a cardigan over his shirt and tie, and put on his brown wool trilby, and head out. And he's going to head on over to Fartown and see if he can't find Billy. Ask him about this matter.
Okay. So you're leaving the note with your addendum on your front porch, and you're going to Fartown. Okay. Great. Claire, what are you doing?
Claire is going to examine it, and then she's going to grab one of the ghosts and ask them what compass is in Saturnine.
Compass. Well, there's the compass on maps. the little cross that points north, or whatever. There's relics from Shadow. There's I don't know. I'm an actor, darling. What do you think I have to do with compasses? Do I look like a sailor to you? And he's actually wearing a sailor's costume.
She's going to look him up and down, and then kind of tilt her head. Well, I suppose you'll need to change costumes then, sweetheart. And she'll pat him on the shoulder and turn around and walk out.
And he kind of harumphs at her.
Yeah, she's going to hand for the Vancian College. I'll find the bookie man.
Okay. Billy, what do you got?
Yeah, Billy's still just kind of, his reaction is like, oh, that's noteworthy. He just leaves it there. Doesn't know what to do with it at all. I think goes out to sit on the tail fin as he does in the mornings, looking down on Fartown and sipping his coffee.
Okay. And Sterling.
I'll probably get myself a cup of tea or something, or whatever Phineas has. And then I'll head to the library, college.
Okay.
As Vance does when they don't.
So you head to the Vancian College after your tea. He has several varieties, and 3 or 4 different types of coffee, and everything from alcohol to creamer and sugar and other interesting chai type things that you can put in your various morning drinks. You head to the Vancian College and you head to the library, and what are you looking for?
I'll try to find any references to a soul compass or any references to the person.
Okay. Go ahead and make another investigation check. I'm going to give you a +1 situational modifier because you are advanced and you spend an absurd amount of time in this particular library. But yeah, this is also going to be a roll high kind of a thing.
Would having a spell that helps me find obscured or invisible things help in this situation?
It might.
I'll go ahead and be wary, and in case someone is trying to hide information from me, I'll be really aware of that. I'll go ahead and use Eyes of the Overworld.
Okay.
One of my prepared spells for today. For this round, I clearly see things that are invisible or obscured.
Okay.
It's level 2. I'll spin the sorcery for it to keep it. And I'll use another. So I've got a venture of 3 for this one, I believe. That's another 4.
So 7.
7.
+1 because you're in the Vancian library, and your amount of time there and your familiarity has gained you at least some level of familiarity with where things are and where they might be. So with an 8, what I'll say is, while you don't see anything, invisible or anything like that, or even particularly obscured, what you do find is that while there is a lot of references to compasses and various travel logs and investigative journals and things like that from Vances that have gone um, questing, for lack of a better way to say it, right, on different suns and things like that, looking for reagents and magic items and new spells and things like that, right? There is a book that catches your eye. And the book is called Relics of the Lost Ones. And the reason that it catches your eye is because it's not in the Vancian library. It's supposed to be, but someone took it and it's gone.
Interesting. I'm assuming I don't have access to who checked out.
they appear not to have signed the book out. So either they were trying to obscure, who they were, or that it was taken out in general, or whatever. You see that happened, but you
Okay.
don't. There's no way to see who it was.
Could I get the name of the book again?
Yeah, sure. Relics of the Lost Ones.
Okay. And it's just missing.
It is just missing. Sometime during your search, Claire, you show up at the library, and you see Sterling eventually as you wander in and wander around, and he's he'll pull a book down and he'll open it up and he'll flip through it and kind of scan, and then nope, slam the book shut, put it back in the shelf, and then go down to the next one on a list or whatever that he's got in his hand. The list seems to be fairly long. So yeah.
I'm going to go over there and just start following Sterling around silently to see how long it takes him to notice me.
I can go ahead and give you a roll if you want to do that.
Sure, why not?
I'm busy, so
Make this one at -1 situation. Yeah.
And I'm not gonna try to put anything to it because I'm searching. Can't
Just
see
for
the
fun.
dice. That's a 3, so that's a 2.
Okay, so it takes you about an hour and a half to notice that someone's following you. And when you do, you stumble back into the bookshelves, and it kind of rocks back a little bit like it's going to tip. But whoever had designed this library had cast some magic on the bookshelves to where they can't be tipped. So it flips back up straight with a really heavy thud, like it's put out, that you would try to tip it. And your friend, Newly, happened to be in that area, and she looks at you kind of chastisingly, and she puts her finger to her lips and shh, you know better, Mr. Sterling.
It happens. Accidents happen. The library is so well designed. And then I just kind of get up to myself off. Hello.
Hello?
How's it going? Claire, right?
Interesting morning. Quite, yes. I was waiting until you were ready to talk to me because I didn't want to interrupt somebody busy with, well, whatever it is you're busy with.
Oh, I was looking for a book. I received a weird message this morning, so I figured I'd look it up. Best practice.
Weird message. Interesting. Was it signed M?
It was.
Excellent. And Claire is going to hold up her own message. I, too, received a weird message this morning. Do you think our friends from the party might have received weird messages as well? Should we check on them?
I'm sure they'll come to us. Yeah, we can go try to meet up with them. We don't have a way to contact them, though. We'll figure something out. Perhaps you would.
Well, you know where Billy's bombshell is because you went there before with him.
Yeah, but if they're going somewhere, then it's gonna be hard to... I guess I wouldn't figure they're going somewhere. Maybe I would if they probably received the message.
All right, so that puts us to Albion. You take the train to Fartown, or rather to the gate to Fartown, and cross in, and the popcorn smell has faded that you had before, and it's early enough in the day that the main square of Fartown, where the gate is mostly empty. You see a couple of goldfish swimming in the air. They're kind of swimming around each other, and as they do, there's almost a vortex of air in between them that's creating kind of a whistling noise. And you notice that as they speed up or slow down or change, elevation slightly or whatever, the pitch changes. And they're playing music. Behind them is a very small, squat sort of a man, maybe 3.75 feet tall or so, fairly long beard, and he's got what looks to be a conductor's baton, and he's kind of waving it at the fish as they circle around and do what they're doing. You're muted.
Perfect. At this point, I think Rainey is in his sort of humanoid form, walking along with me, wearing a dapper suit, and I stop and I tip my hat to the man and say, "Good morning, sir. I hope you're having a good day." And I look over to Reynard and say, "Tell the man good morning," which he does. Though the man does not hear or see it. And then we continue on. And we head over to the building where Billy's bomb is lodged in the wall, and take the fast way up and knock on the door.
Billy, you hear the knock faintly because you're out on the fin, but it echoes differently. So I mean, you hear it like it's outside, like you are.
If he was coming in the way that I showed them to come in, then I would see him coming up the rope because I'm already outside.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because unless he's in Jude's apartment.
No. He's coming up
the way in.
the other way.
Okay. Yeah, so I think I would see him coming up, and I'd be like, "Hey, good morning.
How are you today?
I'm doing just fine. Doing just fine. How are you? How about yourself?"
Well, I received an odd message this morning in a bottle.
Oh yeah,
And
I got one of those too.
I thought perhaps you might have. It seems as though we are connected somehow. And I thought to myself, I'll go check on Billy and see if he got such a message. Did yours say something about a compass?
Yeah, it mentioned the compass. I figured you guys might have got one too, since it mentioned the party and everything. Yeah, signed M, whoever the hell that is.
I'm certain I don't know. But it's curious, and I thought I might as well go deal with this while it's on my mind. Otherwise, I'll probably just forget a few drinks in. Do you think our friend at the opera house might have gotten a letter?
I'm guessing we all did. Seems to be how things work around here. I'm almost getting used to it.
It does seem that way. Yeah, well, perhaps we should go see if either of them got a different letter.
Yeah, if
I
there's
know, I know we could find Sterling at the Vancian campus.
sounds like a
Vances,
safe
they're
bet.
always they're always studying.
Um,
I suppose uh, you'd like a coffee.
always.
Well, I
And
haven't had mine yet this morning.
I have some
Maybe
pretty strong connections at the Dreamery. There's a pretty good library there. You might want to check that
Hmm.
out too. And yeah, let's go get a coffee. See if we can find Sterling and Claire.
All right. We're gonna head toward the Vancian campus and look for the coffee shop there, which I'm sure serves the strongest coffee in all of Saturnine.
It
They better.
does. It also tastes the worst.
Hmm.
You grab some coffee and head to the Vancian campus, and you do indeed find Sterling, and Claire is with him.
Oh, we were just about to head out to see the two of you. See you here.
Convenient.
Well,
I'm like
I'm
shelving
glad
up
we
the
showed
last
up.
couple books from my long list.
Uh, well, I suppose if you two are together, you probably got a letter, a message in a bottle, perhaps.
Looking for a compass.
That's the one. I got the same. So did our friend Billy here. What do you think it means?
I think somebody wants the four of us together.
I think somebody does too, or perhaps something. Hard to say around this place, but uh, what
Oh,
do you
and I
think
sh-
the purpose is?
oh, and Albion, I should tell you that Jasmina wants you to know that if I'm not enough, she'd be more than happy to step into my place. And Claire will get this big shit-eating grin on her face.
Very, very well. That's information. I appreciate it. Back to the matter at hand, however. Uh, what do you think? What do you think we're meant to be doing?
Well, hopefully nothing to do with spiders. Either way, I've been looking for a bit. There's a book that went missing from here called Relics of the Lost Ones. Everything else followed normal checkout procedures, so it's probably possible. Or at least it's not worth asking about until it gets turned back in. But that one went missing. That shouldn't happen.
Do you know anything about the book?
I know the title.
Right. We could check the Dreamery. I mean, the library's mostly about dreams, sleep, somnomancy, but it's pretty extensive. And I've read quite a bit about the Path of Suns and um, things like that. There's always a chance they have a copy.
Not a bad idea. Say, should maybe we formulate a plan over some coffee? It's still really, I'm still not over. Last night, 2 nights ago, I don't know.
What happened?
When we were in that basement with the spiders. That's the last thing I remember, and then gone.
Really? Uh, how long do you think it's been?
2 days.
Is that right? Or has
You're
it been longer since we
guessing.
saw him?
It's been just over a day since you saw him, and Sterling, it feels like 3 or 4 days.
Okay. Maybe 3 or 4. It's just really heavy. I could use something.
Well, let's get you some coffee. It's only been like about a day.
Ugh, sure. I know a good place we can go.
I'll never turn down a good coffee.
Oh well, they should have good coffee. Maybe. Usually, every now and then. Some of the time.
So where are you going?
As we step out of the library, I'm gonna start heading in the direction of Ed's extremely inconvenient diner.
All right. Why don't you describe for us Ed's extremely inconvenient diner as you walk in, and yeah.
So currently, Ed's extremely inconvenient diner is this sort of like 50s style brick building. Inside, checkerboard floor. They've got what looks like a jukebox, but functions probably more like a phone booth inside. There's also just regular booths. The chairs constantly shift color between red, blue, green, yellow, and then another color that you can't really see too well. Uh, and there's a few people just sort of milling about the place. And you can see, like, on the plates that they're carrying around the servers, there's nothing on there until they set it on the table. And people today seem to be paying with something. The waiter talks to them, and then they get this sort of blank on their for a second before going back.
All right. You find yourself a table, and the four of you sit down. And a waiter, actually a waitress, I should say, comes over, and her apron has what looks to be a coffee stain down about a third of it, like someone splashed coffee on it or something, or whatever. Maybe she was making the coffee and spilled something, or you don't know. You can't tell, but it's in desperate need of a wash. And she looks tired. She looks exhausted. And she looks to you and says, what can I get you?
Is it okay if I say coffee? Or not today?
You and everybody else. Yeah, sure, it's fine, whatever.
Like, coffee for me.
Okay. And she looks at the
Okay.
rest of you expectantly.
I'll take a coffee.
Albion leans forward and says, "If, with your permission, you have a stain there, I'd be happy to help with that." And I'm sort of reaching out toward the apron.
Hey, wait a minute. Just what are you trying to say?
I'd just like to give you a little hand. I just sort of pinch the hem of the apron,
Mm-hmm.
and I cast temporal adjustment, reversing the effects of time on the object to when it was like the last time it was fresh and clean, and provided that that was within the last year. But
It was, in fact, within the last year, although not within the last day.
Yeah.
She kind of jerks back and bats your hand away as you do that. Hey, what's the big I? And she looks down and it's clean. Thanks. I sorry. I didn't mean to. It's been a long couple of days.
It does seem that way for you, ma'am. But I do hope we can brighten your day a little bit. I would also like a coffee, and whatever the most inconvenient thing on the menu would be, I suppose that would be the appropriate thing to order here.
There's no menu.
Perfect. Whatever the most inconvenient thing it would be for the kitchen to provide.
All right. Let me see what I can do.
And then I look to Claire and say, "Would you like a coffee as well? Maybe a tea?"
Tea.
And a tea for the young lady, please.
So, 3 coffees, a tea, and something inconvenient. I understand. All right. Yeah, I'll be right back. And she wanders off, leaving the 4 of you alone. Comes back in about 5 minutes. Okay. And she's got the 3 coffees and the tea. And then she hands you a. Okay, picture a bagel, right? Cut the bagel in half. Okay. And you know how you'd normally put topping on the part that you cut? That part's upside down. Okay.
Okay.
And it has what looks to be cherry pie filling. Okay. It's just floating above a plate about 6 inches that she sets in front of you. Here you go. That's on the house, by the way. For the and she gestures at her apron.
Thank you very much, ma'am. And this looks very inconvenient. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, you know, that's what we do.
I did read that on the sign. Thank you for now. We'll give you a holler if we need anything.
Of course. And she turns and heads off to do her job.
So what's the coffee doing today?
The coffee is okay. The coffee's black. It smells strong, but there's as you look at it, there's a lump of something that looks like it's swimming in your coffee. As it moves around, it doesn't appear to be following any kind of real pattern, but eventually, a portion of it breaks the surface of your coffee, and you see what looks like a white fin. And then it goes back underneath.
Cheers.
Are there coffee sharks in here?
Never seen one of
Take a
those
sip.
before.
I take a sip, set it back down, and say, "That's terrible, absolutely awful."
It hits you
I
really hard. I mean, it's really, really strong coffee. But at the very tail end, it's almost like you caught a little bit of whatever it was that was swimming, and it tastes almost like creamer.
Well, that's magical, literally, I suppose. Uh, Terrible coffee, but
Oh yeah,
excellent
horrible,
Really?
horrible,
presentation.
horrible
It's
coffee.
really awful.
The bagel goes perfectly with it.
Oh, I only ordered it to be polite. If anyone's interested in everything bagel with turned inside out with some cherry pie filling, by all means.
Look at the
Uh,
other two, just sort of like if they want it, if they make them for it.
I just scoot it towards Sterling. Feel like you could afford to eat. So, well, do we have do we have an idea of what we're going to be looking for in this library? Obviously, we're looking to see if they have a copy of that book that's missing from the Vancian campus. But M, do
Well,
we
there's a
have
lot of
any
books.
idea who M might be?
Not a clue. I was thinking,
Yeah.
though, with all this direction of the soul and the whole compass bit, it's a little bit, Path of Suns rhetoric, and there's a lot of information about the blue specifically in this particular library, but that also means there are people talking about Paths of Suns and all that Vislae nonsense. There's plenty of books there. It's somewhere to check out, and I know people there. Maybe they can tell us something more, somewhere else to look.
Very well. Seems like a good strategy. Um, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go use the restroom. And he gets up and walks toward where the sign that says restroom is,
Mhm.
which I assume leads to another sign that says restroom, pointing back the way he came. And
Yes, it
uh,
does.
and he ping pongs between signs until he finds it. And
Well, and the way you find it is there's actually another patron that goes into the restroom and walks into the wall between the two signs.
okay, this is very inconvenient. Congratulations, he says to the building at large, uh, and enters the restroom. Uh,
I love how much Albion is enjoying the inconvenience.
I love how this whole thing just is perfectly okay in this role playing game. Here, come up with some really random weird crap. It fits perfectly.
I'm gonna dip the bagel in the coffee. Like I push my hand like through the cherry filling so it stays on the bagel while I dip it. Even though it looks like it's like halfway up my arm.
So yeah, the bagel it's the top half of the bagel, but the cherry's on the bottom.
Yeah.
Right. So think of like a cherry pie, but upside down.
Yeah.
But instead of a crust,
And
you
a
got a
bagel.
bagel. And when you eat it, it actually doesn't taste anything like a bagel or cherry pie.
That's why I dipped it in the coffee.
It's something like I don't want to say a Krispy Kreme donut, but it's got that consistency of air pastry. Not the glaze or anything like that, but really soft, really hot, and light and fluffy. Despite what a bagel would normally, the texture that a bagel would normally have, or the denseness like a cherry filling might have, you don't get any of that. It just looks like it.
You guys want to try some of this?
Eat weird food in a weird cafe while she sniffs the tea. Drinking strange tea. No, I think I'm okay.
Vislae experience.
Usually ends with fire and fondue.
Yeah, I think I'm all right.
Suit yourself.
So are you drinking the tea, Claire?
She will be taking small, tiny little sips.
Okay. The tea actually is really good. It is not. So what kind of tea would you have ordered? Let me put it to you that way.
I don't know, some sort of random fruity herbal tea.
Yeah.
Kind of a fruity herbal tea. Okay. This is not a fruity kind of a tea. It's more on the bitter end, like the coffee, but it's sweetened with something of a honey, to where it's not the bitter's almost all gone. It's you could call it bodied at that point rather than bitter. And yeah, I mean it's not fruit tea like you would have ordered, but it tastes good. It's just different, if that makes sense.
Okay.
All right, so I hear going to the Dreamery and looking at a library there. Do we have any other ideas or things that you want to do?
Albion would like to stop at a supply shop to buy some alchemist's goods so that he can work on a project for a few days.
Okay. There is a. It's not strictly speaking an alchemist shop, but they have some of the apparatuses that you would use. And they're typically fairly good quality. You can't get most of your reagents there, but if you're looking for hardware or like glassware or mortar and pestle kind of thing, they've got all of that, that they get in fairly regularly.
I will go in and I will talk with the proprietor and inquire about where they would suggest going to buy alchemical reagents. My supplier recently seems to have gone out of business, and I'm needing to find someone new. Do you have any thoughts on the matter?
Well, let's start by talking about the shop. The shop is called Something Blue. And it was almost like an afterthought that someone tacked onto the shop name at the very end, Ish. And so the shop name is something blue-ish. Reminds you of that old saying, something borrowed, something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue. This is something blue-ish. They have a lot of antiques. There's a lot of rare items. And alchemy kind of falls under that. There are Vislae that practice alchemy like you do. There aren't a ton of them. Most of them find it to be something of a dead science. Although occasionally it makes a resurgence when someone finds a particular potion or salve or something that's, like an ephemera or an object of power even. And people get interested in again because, how did they make this? Right. I want to make one for me. But then it kind of dies down again. And so it's still sort of a fad kind of a discipline. But she carries, a lot of these implements. The woman that you're talking to, her name is Misari Roan. I'll go ahead and put that in chat here in just a second. And the advice that she gives you is in the Strange Glass district. There's a man that runs a shop with such reagents, spices, herbs, alchemical reagents, all of that together. And his name is Nathaniel. And the thing about Nathaniel is you'll notice that his head is entirely invisible, except for the glasses that he wears. And so you walk around with the image of a pair of floating glasses over a body. And he runs his shop out of the Strange Glass district. So if you'd like to go there, he's usually where I send my customers that need that sort of thing.
Well, what was the name of that shop?
Something blue-ish.
No, the name of
his
this
shop.
this herbalist shop.
The Root of Things.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate your time today. And I do believe I will take this burner. That's a really beautiful piece. And I lift up one of the little burners and all of its attendant bits and bobs, and ask how much.
Oh, 25 orbs is all.
Very well. I pull out. I just pull out one crystal orb, and I drop it in her hand, and I say, "No change necessary. Appreciate your time today."
Oh, my dear, my dear, my dear. How wonderful. You're welcome back in my shop anytime.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. And I make a note. Literally, I have made a note to go visit that shop at some point. But we will continue on to the Fade, where the Dreamery is.
All right.
On our way there, now that I think about it, on our way to the Dreamery, I'd like to sort of look to everyone else and ask, so what did happen once we followed those spiders?
What's the
Go for it.
last part you remember?
I remember following the spiders into some type of sewer or something, and then gone. We opened the
Really?
door. We opened the door after I talked to the truth spider, I believe.
This is a GM question because I believe that what we decided is once we got out to the street. Oh yeah, there was like a little bit of an altercation on the street, and then we went up to my bomb, and so Sterling's not remembering that part.
Oh no, okay, yeah,
So
I do remember that too.
okay, yeah. So I think that's where that session ended.
And then
We
you
were
guys
just like
went home.
in my
And between then and now is he doesn't remember.
Yeah. Okay.
So the last thing I
Well,
saw was the thought throwing that people into the wall. Did you ever check that out, or?
no, not really. We did go look for a missing fox for a while, and we found it. It was hurt.
Interesting.
Jeff, I think you're muted.
It had gotten itself lost up in the carnival just outside of my neighborhood. We brought it home to its boy, and things turned out all right. Spooky place. Wasn't particularly excited about the prospect of going back to that carnival, but
No.
yeah, we did a little boy a good turn. Thankfully, somebody else was able to deal with the child. not really my forte. Uh, yeah, you. How long did it feel like you were gone in the shadow?
3 or 4 days.
Yeah, Claire and I both had like creepy visions regarding the Arabast. Do you know anything about that? You're a Vance. You're well read.
Do I?
You can make a roll for that, but out of all of you, you're the one that would know.
Okay. That's alarming. Considering my intellectuals today. Having had my bagel and coffee, could that add to my venture?
You're no longer hangry.
I'm no longer hangry or decaffeinated, and I'm kind of here now. I'm guessing that's a no.
That's a no.
Okay. I had that. My other spell I prepped. Nope, so 2.
Okay.
Maybe another day I could tell you, but today I got nothing.
What I will say is that you at least have heard of the Arabast. You don't know much about them, okay?
They exist.
Aside from the fact they exist, or rather existed, they don't, to your knowledge, they do not exist anymore. They are gone. Now, what gone means, you don't know. Who they were, you don't know. Not with a 2 anyway. But you've heard of them. You've read them in odd books and things like that. And if you spent time researching, you could probably find more. But just off the top of your head, they are a
people who existed.
They are a people, and when I say people, they're like the Eldebrin and the Lacuna. They're a different species, or at least that's the way they're written of.
So like a different kind of Elderbrunn, or not with.
Sort of, yeah, but I mean, they're not Eldebrin. They're not Lacuna. They're something else.
Okay. So yeah, I'll just kind of say like in passing, maybe another day, but I couldn't tell you who they were. I don't know. The emphasis on were.
It looks like maybe we have a number of things to do some research on.
Oh,
And yeah, let's hit the Dreamery, guys.
All right. You leave Fartown and you take a train to the Fade and make your way to the Dreamery. Kelton, go ahead and describe what the Dreamery looks like as you walk up to the entrance.
So the Dreamery has very much the vibe of a huge monastery. There are multiple like temples and meditation gardens. It's very quiet. It doesn't matter what time of day it is. It seems like it's sort of moonlit. And yeah, it's got the temperature is like this perfect, slightly cool, but not too cold sort of temperature. And you have to walk for quite a ways through it. And there's statuary, there's beautiful marble stuff. Everything is kind of an even gray tone. And the trees have white leaves. And then in the center of it, there is a massive library. And it appears to just be outdoors. It's not like inside a building. It's just like kind of like spirals of bookshelves that seemingly are exposed to the elements, although they're not really, because, you know, Vislae stuff. And all right, well, maybe one of you guys see if we can find a copy of that book. I'll see if I can find somebody I know, maybe ask some questions.
All right.
Seems like a good plan.
good idea.
Who's going with who, and how are you going about it?
I'm gonna hit the shelves. Assuming the books are kept on shelves.
Albion will go with Sterling to kind of
Okay.
peruse the shelves.
Claire will walk with Billy.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'm going to go. I have 2 levels of connection with the Dreamery. So I'm going to try and track down someone that I'm familiar with that I think might know at least more than I about this sort of stuff. And I'm going to kind of run run the note by them and ask some questions.
Okay. You are going to speak to one of the Dreamweavers, and so the way the Dreamery works, it those that can do what you do use it, and they don't really need like assistance. You know what I mean? They just kind of slip into the deeps of sleep on their own and do their thing, and then come out and go on with their lives. The people that come to the Dreamery that don't have your particular abilities or something similar need assistance to get there. And that's what the Dreamweavers do. They help those who need to get into the deep sleep do so without having that particular talent themselves. So there's a group of these Dreamweavers, and they're they're supervised and things like that. And so one of the supervisors is somebody that you know. Um, her name is Dara Andre, Darra Andre. And she is sitting at her desk scribing something on a scroll. It appears to be a list of people that they've helped for the day, or some sort of schedule or something. You can't quite tell, because I mean that would, unless you really want to like look over her shoulder and see what she's doing.
No, I don't need to do that.
Okay.
I'm just gonna approach relatively quietly. I know she knows I'm here. Let her finish like whatever minute task she's engaged in, and wait for her to engage with me instead.
Yeah, so she finishes the line that she's on. She looks up. Mr. Burroughs, welcome back. Oh, and you brought a friend. Wonderful. Will you be requiring a room, or?
No, I actually I just have a couple of questions. I'm new to all this Saturnine stuff. So my friends and I, this is Claire, by the way, Claire, Dara, we all received a mysterious note. We all received the same note. It seems like there's some cryptic stuff in here that none of us really understand. I thought I might run it by you, and maybe you know who I could talk to, or if there's maybe a book about it. And we're also curious about a particular title. I don't know if it happens to be in this library, but I'd like to find out.
Yes, of course. She sets her quill down, and you have the note, I presume?
Yeah, so I show her the note, and I'm gonna see if they have relics of the lost ones, or is that what it was?
Relics of the Lost Ones, yes.
Okay.
So I'll do that in reverse order. She has not heard of that particular title, but that sounds more like magical items or artifacts or even history, as opposed to metaphysics or dreams or things like that they would keep here. In the event that you don't find it, she recommends looking at mentors.
That was Menters?
Menters. Mentors.
Okay.
Yeah,
Is
Mentor
that
Square.
Mentors Square, yes.
It's an infinite library.
Yeah. Perfect. And then I show her the note. Do you know anything
It's in
about
River, by the way. As far as the note goes, she looks at it for a very long time and closes her eyes and begins to massage her temples for a second. And when she opens them again, her eyes are completely white. And her lips are moving, but no sound is coming out. That goes on for about a minute. It's really kind of creepy, considering the haunted carnival that you guys went to last time, and the spiders. You're starting to think you might be, cursed or something. Anyway, the effect stops after a minute, and her eyes come back, and she says, I don't know about the rest of this, but the soul's direction sounds very much like an old, I'd almost call it a legend, but it was more a philosophy. Something to do with that there was a purpose for every soul, and that eventually, when a soul found its purpose or gained some deeper understanding, it could return home.
Interesting.
There was a whole order that taught such things for a long, long time.
What was that called?
The Veridic Knights.
The Veridic Knights. Is there anything on that subject in this library?
She thinks for a minute, and yes, but not with any more detail than I just gave you. The philosophy hasn't been taught since before the war.
Interesting. Well, I don't remember the war either. But sounds like Mentas is our best lead.
And with that, we'll cut to Albion and Sterling. The two of you in the library. While it does have shelves and it looks a lot like a library that you might find on the Vancian campus or whatever, there are also some very notable differences. First off, you see, as you're looking around, several books that are floating off the shelves, and appear to be opening on their own, and floating back and forth down an aisle or other. Occasionally, the page will turn, almost as if something or someone is reading it, but you can't see them. On the shelves, it's not just books. There are there are books. There's books. There's scrolls. There's and of all different kinds and types and things like that. But in between them, there's also clear glass jars that have not like cork seals, but really good latched seals that appear to have some sort of white looking smoke that swirls around inside them.
Hmm.
I'll look it up. And where should we even start?
Well, that's a real good question. Uh, Back home, well, back in Shadow. Spent a lot of time in the libraries, but I don't imagine they use the Dewey Decimal System here. Uh,
Probably not. That doesn't mean it's not organized.
I expect there must be a librarian around here. Now, we're looking for a book about ancient relics. Why don't I just go? I'll go over here, and I point in a direction and say, I'll start looking over there. And if I see any books that seem like they might be in that vein, then I'll know to just keep looking. And if not, I'll go elsewhere. And if I find something, I'll give you a holler. That's about the best plan I can come up with right now,
Can't come up with
we have
anything better.
unless I have a librarian.
Don't touch the jars. That's my only addendum to that plan.
Oh,
Are
no.
you looking for a librarian?
If I see someone who looks like a librarian, I might stop them.
Okay, what does a librarian look like?
That's the question. I feel like I'm gonna be the guy at the grocery store or the guy at Target that stops the first person he sees in a red shirt, hoping that that's not just an accident and
Okay.
that it's an actual employee. So yeah, if anybody walks by, I'll say, "Excuse me, do you happen to know where the librarians are?"
So you stop someone who walks by in what looks almost like Grecian robes. Very airy, very comfortable. Like they spend a lot of time lounging around, which seems like it would be fairly common for some place called the Dreamery. And as you ask him your question, he kind of cocks his head to the side and looks at you and "You're not from around here, are you?" And he kind of chuckles and points over to the side. There's a small table, and next to the table is a large statue. The statue is of, it looks like a woman, but it's one of those statues where, um, you know how I'd have to find a picture of the art, but how it's got the veil as part of the stone carving. You know, there's a face underneath there because you can see the outline of the face, but the details are obscured by the veil that's part of the stone. That's what it looks like.
And if I ask the statue, it will tell me what I need to know. Now, is it going to speak, or is it going to tell me directly into my head? Is it just going to take control of me and guide me to the book? Uh, I have questions.
He kind of laughs at you and claps your shoulder. Go ask your questions, newcomer.
Very well. Uh,
And he walks
just
off.
walk
He
over.
doesn't even wait for you. He just walks off.
Okay. I walk directly over to the statue and say, I'm looking for the section on magical artifacts, magical objects, relics, uh, of the old ones or forgotten ones, or
Okay. You see the statue move, and the veil on the statue, while it doesn't change appearance, flows like a normal veil would in the breeze. Like stone shouldn't be able to do that. You know what I mean? And you hear this breathy, almost happy sigh. And it starts to slowly walk.
hey, I'll follow
leads
slowly.
leads you to a bookshelf kind of in the back of the library.
Hmm.
Very small bookshelf. It's only about half size compared to the others. They don't seem to have anywhere near as much of this kind of book as they do everything else. There are none of those jar things here. It's all books and scrolls.
Okay.
And the statue reaches out and kind of gestures at the bookshelf.
Very well. And I have one other question for you before you wander off. Uh, do you have a section of books about uh, theoretical alchemy, the metaphysics of alchemy? I'm I'm a bit of a student of the subject, and I imagine great many dreamers have come up with some brilliant ideas that, while perhaps unpracticed, could be helpful to me in my endeavors.
She sighs again and starts walking.
Okay, I'm gonna follow her.
This um this time she leads you back into the main portion of the library, and instead of books, she gestures at a series of jars.
Okay. Um, and it's okay for me to open them. Nothing's gonna escape. Very well. Um, I start looking. Are there any labels on the jars?
um you see that there are labels on the jars, but the labels don't really make sense. It's not like a book title, and it's not a name, it's a number. And most of them are a negative number at that. The one that you have in your hand is negative 173.
I'm going to make a mental note of this space, and then I'm going to go back to Sterling and guide him, if he's interested, to the section on ancient relics and objects of power.
And that's where we'll take our break. We're going to be out for about 15 minutes. And when we come back, we'll find out what our friends discover in the library of the Dreamery, and perhaps see what we find at Menter's. Welcome back to the actuality. We rejoin our friends, our Vislae, my wonderful cast members in the Fade at the Dreamery. And Albion and Sterling are rooting through the Dreamery's library. And we have Billy and Claire had talked to a supervisor of Dreamweavers. And so we'll start there. So you were going to go back to Sterling, Albion, correct? And show him to what portion of the library was it?
The area with the books about artifacts and magical objects. I still, while it was pretty obviously small, I still haven't heard back from anyone else saying that, hey, that book's probably not here in the library. So it seems like that's probably the best place to go. And then I'm going to try to excuse myself and wander back over to the alchemy section, the metaphysical alchemy area.
Okay. So Sterling, he leads you back to a smallish bookshelf that has none of those bottles or anything. It's just books, and that's where those books are.
Yeah, I probably start like picking up a scroll before he even walks away, and I'm just like, I just go straight into it.
Okay. You spend probably the next half an hour looking through books, looking through scrolls, and you're not seeing anything about a compass or anything like that.
Could I go ahead and just, with my sneaking suspicion, just try for Eyes of the Overworld anyway, and then just see maybe it's being hidden from me?
Go for it.
Okay, I'll go ahead and use that. Then would you like a roll?
Yeah.
Or no? So level 2, throw down another intelligence for it today, or intellect, because I know I need it at this point. 3. That's a 0.
You get absolutely no sense the book's ever been here.
Do I get anything?
Nothing at all.
I'm just gonna look at one of the scrolls, like, what does it say on it at this point?
This one talks about a ring with an embedded sapphire that allows one to focus their subconscious imagery, their dreams, into a vessel in order to store it.
That sounds really cool. And
It's called a dream ring.
I'm just gonna try to commit the information to memory.
Okay.
Just because it's really neat.
Albion?
Yes, sir.
You have managed to leave your friend to look through books on relics, and you have wandered back over to the alchemy portion. What do you do?
I start looking through some of the books just to get context for what they look like and what subject matter they might touch on, and then I pick up -175 and pop it open and see what it contains.
Okay. So the books that you look at, they all are they're all very oddly mundane. They're dreams, records of dreams about childhood, about home, about whatever. But it seems like this grouping is all from the same person's perspective.
Okay.
The individual is named Fennish, Fennish, and then you open the jar. Immediately, you are not in that library anymore. You are in almost like a blackened stone room. There's a table off to the corner, and on the table, you see some alchemy tools, like a mortar and pestle and some glassware and a burner and stuff like that. But crawling all over the table, you see eyeballs. And each one of them has 12 legs, and around the cornea of the eyeball are kind of like hooked pincers, almost like teeth, but there's no mouth. It's just they're just pointy things sticking out of the eye, and they're just, you can hear the chittering and the crawling all over this desk. And as you are watching this, there's a motion in the corner of your eye. And you turn to look,
Yeah.
and out of one wall is another eyeball. But this one's massive, like you-sized massive. It's easily 5-6 feet tall. And it blinks at you. In the room, you also notice that there are torches. But the smell that you smell is not burning wood. It's much more arid. It's almost like someone had wrapped a torch in weeds or herbs or something and was burning. You like how live leaves smell when you burn them. And depending on the kind of leaf, you can get that really arid, like smoke. That's what smells from the torches, but they just look like torches. It's wood and it's fire. But this entire room is filled with that arid smell.
Okay.
And eyeballs.
Does the large eyeball seem to be threatening? Or is it just...
No, it's just looking at you.
Okay.
But the others, the smaller ones, after a while, they go over and they climb up the wall and they get the torches loose, some of them anyway, and they start carrying them towards you. Just kind of like in a rolling pile of eyeball spider kind of things, right? But the torch is out front, and as you look, it's kind of waving, like when you imagine Indiana Jones, right? And he falls into that pit of snakes and he's got the torch, right? And he's waving the torch in front of him to ward off the snakes. It looks kind of like that.
So I feel like I read this as kind of a threat, as kind of a get away from us.
That it could be.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the room?
There is nobody else in this room.
If I look down at myself, am I me or am I like someone else in a memory?
Nope, you're you.
Okay. I don't know what to do. I am.
They're getting closer.
I'm going to use my. I have nothing. I don't have the spell that I thought about. That's another game. I just sort of step back away from it and look for a door.
As you step back, the whole scene just sort of fades, like you're stepping into a black smoke, or through a curtain or something.
Okay.
And you find yourself back in the library.
Okay.
The jar has been recapped.
Okay. I shake that off and take a deep breath and grab a different one.
Okay. So the two things that stick with you and they're absolutely impressed on your mind are eye spiders with teeth and 12 crawling legs. And you will probably have nightmares about those forever. And that smell, it was unlike anything that you can remember ever smelling burning. It was very distinct.
Yeah, I commit that to memory. Smell is one of the most hardwired senses to your memory, so I'll try to keep that in mind as I mess around with alchemy and see if I can't figure out a way to reproduce that, to see if I can figure out what it was.
Sounds good.
All right.
The two of you, Billy and Claire, I'm assuming you'd finished your conversation with the supervisor. Is that correct, or do you have something else that you were going to ask?
No, I think we're probably done with Dara.
Okay, so you leave Dara's office and head back, I'm assuming, to the library.
Yeah, we can go find Sterling, unless there's something Claire wants to do. Sterling and Albion.
I'm just going to follow Claire. Or Claire is just going to follow Sterling.
Billy.
Yes. Billy.
Who am I?
The other
Claire is
Sterling.
go-
The other
Claire-
white meat.
Hush! Claire is going to follow Billy to Sterling.
Okay.
So you walk into the library, and Billy, as you're walking through the library looking for Albion and Sterling, you see Albion first, and he has one of the dream jars in his hand. And he looks like he's about to open it. Because you did say you were going to do another one, correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
I think I'm just going to watch that happen.
Okay. You open this dream jar, and once again, you are no longer in the library. You find yourself on what looks to be a floating island. It's really small. It can't be more than 100 feet by 50 feet or 100 feet by 100 feet at the most, right? And there is a small tower on this island. When I say small, what I mean is this thing is 2.5 feet high. But in all respects, it looks just like a tower, like you'd imagine a wizard's tower looks like, right? It's got the pointy top, it's got the arched doorway at the bottom, and there's windows going around the whole thing, like the little arched window type things.
Mhm.
But it's only 2.5 feet tall, and the doors and the windows in this tower are all sized to match.
I am going to squat down and try the handle of the door.
Okay. The handle of the door is, it just barely fits in between your fingers, right?
Mhm.
It's tiny. The whole thing's tiny.
Mhm.
It opens, and from inside, you see a head poke out, and the head is the head of an ant.
I tip my hat to it and I say, "Good day, sir. I seem to have gotten myself lodged in this here dream or something. I was hoping maybe I could come in and pick your brain about uh, a, a, a few subjects. In particular, I'd like to see if there's anything you could tell me about alchemy."
Okay. It looks up at you, and its antenna just kind of twitch a little bit. You see its pincers chittering at you. And with your hand still there, the ant steps out slightly,
Hmm.
rears back, and bites your finger, and then goes
Okay.
back inside. As he does that, you get a you're looking at your hand, and from where he bit you, okay, a substance seeps out of the two wounds that starts covering your hand. First your thumb, right? And then it spreads back, and it's like it's covering your hand. And it looks like glass.
Um, does it hurt?
Not particularly, but
Okay.
you can't move afterwards.
Okay.
So I
So
mean, it
is it spreading across my whole body?
very,
Or
very
just
slowly. Yes.
okay. Um, I I lean down and say, I apologize for any offense I may have caused. I feel like this is perhaps uh, either very rude on your part or some kind of lesson. Uh, I'm watching as it's like creeping down my arm, and I can't move my hand anymore. Uh, well, this is what I came here for, and I just kind of let it cover over me.
Okay. Um, it eventually does. It covers your entire body and it starts working its way up your head and your neck stops moving and it covers your mouth and your nose and um as you've been doing this, you notice that the island sort of sways, like almost like it's in a breeze. There's
Hmm.
it's not at sea. Around it, almost looks like clouds, I guess. Um, Kind of purplish pink, and as this thing is covering your nose and your mouth and ears and eyes and everything else, um, the island hits another gust. And without you being able to balance, you tip over and you fall off the island and find yourself back in the library.
Okay.
Um,
What does it
that
look like from Billy's perspective when I go into these dreams?
From Billy's perspective, and this is you wouldn't know this, but Billy would, and it's something that he's experienced. Um, it's almost like the person becomes incorporeal, but they're still there, right? It's they're not quite a ghost, but there's a certain airiness to them, and almost matching that thick smoke inside the dream bottles.
Hmm.
um you're if you're looking at an individual doing this, you'll notice that their eyes become that same type of smoke, except it's the eyes are gone, right? It's just black, and this smoke that's in the bottle, that's swirling around in the dream bottles, looks like it's swirling around in your eyes as well. And then when obviously when you come out of it, or come out of the dream, um, you solidify again, and the eyes go back to normal.
Um, yeah, I see Billy and I say, well, I found I was led here by a a statue that informed me that I could learn about the metaphysics of alchemy here.
Yeah, how's that going for you?
Well, it's impenetrable at the moment, but I'm hoping a bit more of this will will shed some light. I can't say it's all been very pleasant, but you know, the study of knowledge, the search for knowledge is never all posies and ice cream. You know, it, it's rigorous. I have to remind myself that because it's not in my nature to be this kind of rigorous. However,
So, as a side note from that last one, the two things that stick in your mind are the feeling of being suffocated, and this glass. It was not like any other glass that you've ever experienced or encountered or whatever. You know, you've seen glass windows, you've broken glass windows. Heck, you put your fist through a glass window once as a kid, maybe. You know, I mean, glass breaks. This did not break. You struggled against whatever this was, and you could not move your hand or your arm. When you fell off, you know, your leg kind of bumped the island, right? Nothing happened to the glass.
Okay. Yeah, I have no need to continue with the. I don't need any more spotlight, but I do think that Albion would continue to just open the jars. I won't say gleefully, but inevitably, he will open the jars as though it is his responsibility to do so, and will live through the weird visions. And
you continue to do so, and you find similar situations. There's only actually there's one more in that grouping, and you'd have to go to a different shelf, but Sterling, you finish going through those books. The book you're looking for is not there. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm probably walking. I probably find Albie like by time he's coming out of that second one. That's probably when I show up. I just kind of wave at, stare at Albie while he's coming down.
So, has anybody heard of the Veridic Knights?
Nope.
What do you say we take a trip to Menter's? My contact here said it might be a good idea.
I'm in.
Very well.
Let's see, we're in the field right now, and we'd be heading to River. I'll just kind of always up for a good library.
Yeah, I've never been there, but it's there's a diner in Rive River I particularly care for. So yeah, let's head to Menter's.
So you head to Menter's Square in River. Menter's Square is a vast open stone square, in the center of which is a small-ish, compared to the size of the square, stone building with two massive double doors and not much else. On the double doors, you see carved in. You're assuming that this is bronze, but it's some sort of hard metal. Massive serifs. The detail is absolutely exquisite. And over the images of the serifs, you see in scroll work a phrase in the Vislae language, and it says, truth is your legacy. There's people in the square. There's probably 24. There's a couple of kids running around feeding birds. You see in 4 corners of the square, there are some small pillars, and on each of the pillars, it's a square pillar. On each pillar, on each side of each pillar, is a clock, and all the clocks have a different time. And there's no indication as to what those clocks' time represents. So if you're looking at a clock, it's not like a time zone kind of a time, where it's 5:26 here and it's going to be 4:26 in a different time zone or whatever. It's like one clock says 5:26 and the other one says 3:14 and the other one says 1:53 and right. They're all just completely different, and there's no label or anything that says what they're for.
Billy looks at the clocks and just kind of shrugs and goes, all right, whatever, more Saturnine stuff. And we go inside.
Beyond the double doors is a stairway leading down. It's a very large marble stairway, impeccably clean. And it leads down into a vast hallway. Not hallway, hall, I should say. Huge open area. And you're wondering how this got built, because it's very much bigger. It looks bigger on the inside than it does on the outside, right? There are tables everywhere and people with books. They're reading. Some of them are copying. Some of them are just casually lounging. There's couches. There are people in not so much ascetics robes, but they look very, very drab, like that tan, that brown kind of rough clothing, cloth belts for the pants, and they're just sort of milling around. Sometimes someone will go over and grab one of them, and they'll wander off into a part of the library, and other times people walk up to one and they'll gesture in a particular direction. The person will go off in that direction. You're assuming they're the help, and there's probably 50 or 60 of them in this room. And as far as total people, you're looking at probably over 200 people in this room. It's huge. There are on the outskirts of this room, there are some bookshelves, but there are more archways with stairs than there are bookshelves.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to locate a librarian, find somebody to ask for guidance, because this is a bit much.
Okay. I'm assuming the rest of you going with him.
I'm
Yes.
gonna see if there's like a search system or anything of that sort.
Okay, so you're not walking with them, correct? You're going around looking for a search system?
Yeah, like just some type of kiosk or device or
Okay.
a bit of weirdness. Looks like it would lead me to a if I
So you take about 10 minutes while they're doing this. You actually do not find anything. Um, they go and they find an individual in one of those sets of clothes. All right. And this guy, if he weighs 110 pounds soaking wet, you would be surprised. He's swimming in these clothes, right? Arms, legs, his whole body seems rail thin, except for his nose. His nose is huge. All the weight's in his nose. Okay. This thing protrudes like 6 inches from his face, and his eyes and his mouth are adjusted to where it's shifted so this thing's got room. But I mean, it's just massive. Okay. And he looks up at you and he says, "How can I help you?"
Well, wondering if you have a copy of. I keep forgetting the name of this thing. Relics of the Lost Ones, and also looking for anything about the Veridic Knights.
And then he does the weirdest thing. He looks at the three of you and he starts sniffing the air. And he walks over to Claire. And he gets really, really close, like uncomfortably close.
Since my
Go ahead.
Claire will just kind of reach out one finger and push him back. No.
As she does, he will take a very, very deep breath through that nose. I know what you need. And he turns and he walks towards one of the archways that leads to a set of stairs. And the stairs go down.
Claire will move to step behind Billy.
I will follow him with a slight look of distaste.
Claire will follow Billy, keeping Billy between her and the weird man. Because
He leads you downstairs. And more stairs. And more stairs. In fact, he leads you down 30 flights of stairs. And when he emerges through the next archway, all you see are bookshelves for as far as you can see into the distance. It's lit. It's lit fairly well, actually. But they stretch on for so long that you can't really, your depth perception kind of goes. You know what I mean? And he walks down the aisle a little bit, 20, 30 bookshelves, and then turns and he starts down the row of bookshelves. and you can see that he's sniffing again. And you walk for half an hour, easy, down this aisle of bookshelves. And he stops and he turns to one of the shelves, and he starts kind of running his fingers over the book spines, and he finally pulls one out, and he holds it up under his nose and goes, "I know what you need." And he hands you this book.
What do we got?
The book that he hands you is a book about the title of the book is Stories of the Arabast.
Oh God.
Are you as creeped out as I am right now, Billy?
I feel like as soon as he does that, Albion would say, "Thank you very much. We don't need your assistance any longer."
And yeah, I don't like this at all, Claire.
He kind of turns and he looks at you, Billy, and he slowly moves closer. I know what you need.
This guy is the worst. Yeah, what's that?
What we need is perhaps another librarian who can mind their manners a bit. I don't think you. I don't think you were probably raised right.
And he walks off.
You know, I can't believe I'm saying this, but this is pretty on the nose, so I guess we should. I'm gonna follow him.
Very well.
I'm not happy about it.
As you're walking, you walk back kind of the way you came, really, towards where the stairs are in the through the archways in the wall, so that you're going down again. And you go down a couple more levels, and when you walk back out, bizarrely enough, Sterling meets you. Sterling, as you were looking around the massive hall, you couldn't find what you were looking for, and you went to go look for your friends, and they had gone. As you thought about what to do, the hall vanished, and you ended up near a bookshelf that seemed to go on forever. And as you're pondering this, they appeared behind you.
Let's see. I'll kind of lean in and just like take a whiff of a book before I turn around. Oh, where'd you guys go?
And you see this rail thin librarian with this massive nose. And he gets this kind of smirk on his face. And he walks past you. pushing you out of the way. And I don't mean, like kind of brushing past you or anything like that. I mean, he pushes you out of the way. You wouldn't think this guy would be able to do something like that, but he's there's something there, And he leads you down this aisle, and you walk for about 15, 20 minutes, and he stops again at this bookshelf, and he turns and he does the same thing. He's crawling the book spines with his hands, and he's kind of sniffing at them. And he takes one down. I know what you need. And he hands it to you, Billy.
Yeah. Thanks. I think we're done for now. What is it?
Relics of the Lost Ones.
Oh, snap.
I'd like to walk up to him and whisper and ask about it. But I'm just going to do it quietly since it seems like the others don't want to be down here.
Okay, what are you asking about?
I'd like any text related to the direction of the soul. Aside from...
He stops and he looks at you and he gets this really queer look on his face. Like, did you just ask what I think you just asked? And he looks like that for a second, and then his nose starts sniffing again. He leans in and he gets really, really uncomfortably close, right? I know what you need.
I'll meet you guys back up there.
She knows what you need. And he starts wandering off.
I'll follow. The others don't need to if they don't want.
I'm gonna follow.
I
Albion
was
will
going to say the same thing.
Albion will turn to the others and say, "You don't have to continue with this odious man if you don't want to. I'll make sure Sterling is okay."
Well, in that case, I guess I look at Claire and I have these 2 books, and I'm like, care to get started?
Sure.
You want the relics or the Arabast?
I'll take the Arabast. Claire's just still got this kind of befuddled, disturbed look on her face and is kind of, I don't smell weird. She is obviously extremely uncomfortable.
I hand you the book. I just give you that kind of knowing look that of but luckily he's gone now.
That man is gone.
Yeah,
Creepy man has
I'm gonna
left.
dive into Relics of the Lost One. See what I can learn. Probably find a table
Okay.
somewhere, and we'll sit down and.
All right, you guys are good. I'll be back as quick as I can. I gotta go get the potatoes in the oven.
All right. So I'm actually going to hold off with you and Claire for just a second. And I'm going to follow Sterling and Albion as they follow this guy. And he leads you back to the stairs. And he leads you down. And down. You probably go down another 50 flights of stairs. And as you go further down, the stairs, the stairwell, the air, it gets colder and it gets more stale the further down that you go. And finally he stops and he goes through one of the archways, and what you see looks like it probably was library at some point, but has since become almost like a hovel. The bookshelves are tipped over and books are strewn everywhere and piled. The torchlight that was so prevalent upstairs is it's faint and it's weaker than it was before. And he leads you in and gets down on all fours and starts crawling into what's almost like a tunnel that these bookshelves have made.
I'll kind of stoop so I can just watch, but I won't follow.
Okay. He crawls through and he makes a turn and he vanishes.
I think we're expected to stay with the librarian.
This whole thing smells kind of fishy, doesn't it?
I don't appreciate the puns, but yes, this is terrible.
I'll start crawling through.
Yeah, Albion gets down and starts crawling.
I'll go
Okay.
in ahead of you so you can get out if you don't want to be.
You quickly catch up to him. He's not particularly fast. And he leads you through some of these bookshelf book tunnel things, okay? And stops in what looks almost like a room. And it's the most bizarre thing, right? This, as you've been going through the tunnels, it looks like fallen bookshelves, okay? But all the books are still on the shelves. It's like they're being held there, okay? And like you could walk down these aisles and it'd still be part of the library. But when he stops in a room, or what seems to be a room that's made of bookshelves, and the room is impeccably lit and bright, and it doesn't have the same kind of smell. It when I said the smell was stale, I don't mean like it smelled bad. It just didn't smell fresh, if that makes sense. Like the air didn't move much down here. This room doesn't smell anything like that. It's very warm, it's very welcoming, and he walks up to one of those, it's almost roundish, right? And the shelves are round. And so he walks up to one of these shelves and he does his thing, right? He's following the book spines again, and he pulls one out, but this time he doesn't smell it. Okay? And he walks over to you, Sterling, and he hands you this book, and he says once again, She knows what you need. And he gives you the book.
I'll take the book just in both hands and I'll just give him
And you give him what?
just like a good, like, affirmative. Like, I know exactly what he's talking about. I don't, but might as well. What's my book?
The book's title is The Infinite Soul of Vislae.
Do I feel anything holding onto this book or reading the title? Or
Do you
like,
feel
obviously
anything?
Vislae,
No.
but like, I get the significance of Vislae, but is there any like extra like half I get from the title?
No.
If that makes
Other than the fact that your character arc was about infinity.
it was.
And it resonates with you a little bit. There's like, ooh, hey, maybe this is something important. Maybe this is something. But outside of that, no. And he turns and he walks back the way he came and then squats down and starts crawling back through the tunnel.
Believe I'm about to do this. But I say, excuse me, sir. I'm not looking for a particular book. I'm just curious about where the uh, alchemical studies section of the library might be. And then I just hold out my arm for him to sniff it.
He looks at you for a second and then turns and says, "Follow."
Very well. Are you going to stay here behind, or are you going to follow with me?
I'm gonna follow, assuming there's no magic that prevents me from checking out this book.
There does not appear to be.
I'll just follow.
Okay.
So as he emerges from that tunnel to where the staircase was, he stands and you guys get out of the tunnel and he turns back to the tunnel for a second. And then he bows towards the tunnel. And says, "Thank you for allowing us home, my brothers." And you hear off in the distance almost a cacophony of muttered voices, like a whole bunch of people answering that greeting, but in hushed, reverent tones, and all jumbled to where you can't hear what they're saying. And then he turns and he goes back to the staircase and he starts up.
We follow.
It takes a long time to climb those stairs. And by the time you're done, you are tired. But he leads you back to where Claire and Billy are. and then he takes you up and continues up. You get the sense that you're fairly close to the top, and he walks down through another archway and down one of the main bookshelves or book aisles, I guess. He leads you for about 10 minutes, and then he stops and he points at a shelf. And then he turns and he points down the aisle some more. 30 bookcases.
Hey, I appreciate your time, and thank you for not smelling me. And I
He
just sort of nod to him.
he turns and he leaves. In that 30 bookcases, you're looking at probably several thousand volumes.
Yep. I look at it and I think to myself, terrific. And
You didn't ask her what she needed.
nope. And I'm happy with that. I'm going to make a mental note of how to get back here. And then I'm going to go find my colleagues.
They're with you.
And oh, they're with me. Okay, yeah. Let's let's go on and head on to check out your books if you want, or research them here if you need to. I know where to come back to. This is a little personal project. It'll take a while for me to work my way through all those books, but I think I intend to. So,
All right, you head back up to the main floor, the massive hall, and you find kind of an out of the way table with some chairs around it. And you sit down and begin to peruse the books that you got. And that is where we will stop for this session. When we come back in 2 weeks, we will discover what our Vislae have found in the vast library of Menters. Everybody, thanks for joining us. It's been a pleasure having you and hosting you in the actuality. We'll start out, I guess, with some shout outs real quick. So first, I want to thank my wonderful cast. I love you guys. You guys are the greatest. This has been a blast so far, and I'm excited to see where this is going. Kelton, do you have anything you want to call out this Sunday?
No, not today. Just thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful evening.
Okay, Chris.
Yeah, everybody have a good night. All I got.
Joanne. Nobody has a shout out?
Angelcitadel.com.
You stole our thunder, no.
Yes, next Sunday is Manipot's Invisible Sunday. Don't forget Wednesday is happy hour. I don't believe we'll be playing there, but I still want to shout out for Liza. Tonight we're doing our Citadel Lounge at 8 p.m. And yeah, I think that's all I've got because my mind is on, dinner.
It's going to be good too.
My house smells fantabulous.
We're having lamb for dinner. It's going to be fun. And Jeff.
No shout outs. I'm just excited I got to play today, and I hope everybody out there's having a great day themselves.
All righty. Well, yeah, like we said, we're back in 2 weeks, but if you can't wait that long, next Sunday is Manipot Studios, A Hole in the World. My buddy Zach and his cast are hard at work trying to save the actuality. Please join them. They're 4:30 Eastern time. And then back here again at 3 o'clock the following Sunday. Same time, same channel. It's Invisible Sunday every Sunday. Thanks for joining us. And from our Citadel to yours, happy gaming.